Hi, I'm Beth and I love books, and I'm here to tell you what you should be reading for spooky season. And then I'm going to tell you what I'm reading for spooky season and ask you for your recommendations. So let's get started. Let's start out with, I said what you should be reading. Okay. There's something in here for everyone, I swear. So first, we're going to do a romance that I would say is a perfect spooky season romance. Not scary if that's not your thing. And that's going to be The Ex Hex by Erin Sterling. This was a Book of the Month book I got. This book follows a woman named Vivian. She lives in a very small town called Graves Glen. It's a very small town romance. And the magic in the town is being weird and failing. And so this man, Reese, comes to town. He's from this huge family of like super rich witches basically, and they own this town. And yeah, I mean, chaos ensues. It's kind of like enemies to lovers a little bit. This one's really good. I did read the sequel that follows Vivi's cousin and Reese's brother. That one's called, The Kiss Curse. I read that last week. I'll talk about that in my wrap-up video. This one's definitely the one I recommend, though. This was very good. Very quick read. 10 out of 10. Perfect romance for spooky season. Okay, let's do YA. YA spooky season recommendations. Okay, I have two of them. First, Holly Jackson's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This book is so good. It says this is the story of an investigation turned obsession. Pretty and popular high school senior, Andy Bell was murdered by her boyfriend, Sale Singh, who then killed himself. It was all anyone could talk about. And 5 years later, Pip sees how the tragedy still haunts her town. Now, a senior herself, Pip decides to re-examine the closed case for her final project. At first, just to cast doubt on the original investigation. But soon she discovers a trail of dark secrets that might actually prove Sale innocent, and the line between past and present begins to blur. Someone in Fairview doesn't want Pip digging around for answers, and now her own life might be in danger. So this book's really good. Highly recommend. I think I gave this 5 out of 5 on Goodreads when I read it. I think it's really big on TikTok. Very good. And for our second YA scary book, we have How to Survive Your Murder by Danielle Valentine. On the back it says Rule 1, never go into the corn maze alone. Rule 2, nothing good happens on Halloween. Rule 3, never be distracted by a hot bad boy. And Rule 4, don't die this time. And this is a time loop spooky book. It's very good. A little bit of a slow start, but it's so short that I don't think that really matters much. I recommended this to a friend. And at first she was going to not finish it, and then I told her to just keep going because it gets better, and she did finish it, and she loved the ending. She loved this book. Highly recommend. And it's just like a YA, so it's a quick read. Really liked this one. Thrillers. First thriller I would recommend. This could also be like a cold weather thriller if you're looking for that, but I think this is really good for spooky season. This is Shiver by Allie Reynolds. This book's incredible. I talked about it in my August reading wrap-up. I read it in like 2 days. It's about a group of snowboarders who used to be professional snowboarders meeting up after this tragedy occurred in their friend group like 10 years later. They hadn't talked. And it's kind of a murder mystery. It's very good. Highly recommend. Yeah, I guess I'll read the back of it for you. It says, when Mila accepts an off-season invitation to Les Rochers, one of France's most exclusive ski resorts, she's expecting a weekend of catching up with 4 old friends. Though she hasn't seen them in a decade, she's never forgotten the bond they forged on this very mountain during a winter spent fiercely training for an elite snowboarding competition. Yet the moment Mila and the others arrive for the reunion, they can tell something is wrong. Inside the deserted ski lodge, an icebreaker game awaits, designed to draw out their secrets and to remind them of Saskia, the enigmatic 6th member of their group, who vanished the morning of the competition years before and has long been presumed dead. Stranded in the lodge with a looming snowstorm making escape impossible, Mila realizes there's no one on the mountain she can trust, because someone will stop at nothing to find out the truth about Saskia. And if Mila's not careful, she could be the next one to disappear. Highly recommend. Obviously, I said that. I've talked about this book so much. Please read it. Tell me what you think about it. If you hate it, don't tell me. Or do. I don't care. Another thriller. Alice Feeney's Rock, Paper, Scissors. This was a Book of the Month book, I think, 2 years ago? September 2021, so I read this 2 years ago for spooky season. This one says, think you know the person you married? Think again. Things have been wrong with Mr. and Mrs. Wright for a very long time. Every anniversary, the couple exchanged traditional gifts, paper, cotton, pottery, tin, And each year, Adam's wife writes him a letter that she never lets him read, until now. Self-confessed workaholic and screenwriter Adam Wright has lived with face blindness his whole life. He can't recognize friends or family or even his own wife. And Amelia is sick of feeling unseen. When Adam and Amelia win a weekend away to Scotland, it might just be what their marriage needs. They both know this weekend will make or break their relationship, but they didn't randomly win this trip. One of them is lying, and somebody doesn't want them to live happily ever after. 10 years of marriage, 10 years of secrets, and an anniversary they will never forget. This book is good. Trigger warning. Not really trigger warning, but there's a part in this where you might be worried for the dog. Don't be worried for the dog. It's okay. Don't feel like you have to skim to see what happens to the dog. The dog is fine. That's a spoiler, I guess, but I'd want to know. I did want to know. I was panicking. I was like, oh my god, they're not going to do that to the dog. If they don't worry about it. It's okay. Okay. We're getting into, like, horror now, I feel like. I have 3 of them to recommend right now. I have a million horror recommendations. If you're looking for, like, something uber specific, please ask me. I can probably recommend you something. I love horror books. They're incredible. I actually forgot one over there, so I have 4. I'm going to grab another one after I get through these 3. Okay, let's do this one. Taylor Adams, The Last Word. This one I only picked as a recommendation because I don't have my copy of No Exit anymore. I gave it to a friend. I highly recommend No Exit by Taylor Adams. If you haven't read that yet, read it. It's incredible. It's what got me back into reading horror books, like straight horror instead of just thriller. This book is about an author who is staying at a house, and she's reading... What is she reading? Emma is living in isolation with her golden retriever, Leica, house-sitting in an old beachfront home on the rainy Washington coast. Her only human contact is with her enigmatic elderly neighbor, Deck, and, via text, with the house's owner, Jewell. One day, she reads a poorly written, but gruesome, horror novel by the author H.G. Cain and posts a 1-star review that drags her into an online argument with none other than the author himself. Soon after, disturbing incidents start to occur at night. To Emma, this can't be a coincidence. It was strange enough for this author to bicker with her online about a lousy review. Could he be stalking her too? As Emma digs into Cain's life and work, she learns that he has published 16 other novels, all similarly sadistic tales of stalking and murder. But who is he? How did he find her? And what else is he capable of? Displaying his trademark command of rapid-fire pacing, unnerving atmosphere, and razor-sharp characterization, Taylor Adams once again delivers a diabolically disturbing and deadly game of cat and mouse. I have another book by him, too. What is the other book? Because that one was good, too. I don't know. Hairpin Bridge. So that one was written before No Exit. There's 2 of them that I haven't read, but Taylor Adams is, like, the king of making a horror book that takes place over, a short period of time. Like, most of his books are, like, 1 night or 2 nights or, like, not very long at all. And it really keeps the pacing going. Like, something is always happening. It's kind of like, it feels like you're watching a horror movie. It's so good. I love Taylor Adams. I would recommend any of the books I've read. So that's Hairpin Bridge, No Exit, and The Last Word. No Exit being my favorite. So, highly recommend. Okay, I went and picked up the other books that I want to talk about. Okay, so I have 2 books here, both by Paul Tremblay. I would really recommend anything he's written. I've read The Pallbearers Club, Survivor Song, and then these 2. Now, the problem is, I haven't read all of his books, and I know they're not for everybody because I know The Pallbearers Club had, like, super iffy reviews, but I love that book. I gave it 5 stars. I'll talk about it a lot more in my September reading wrap-up. The first book I read by him, though, was The Head Full of Ghosts. This book is so good, and it's the only horror book I've ever read that is like this. And I bought a used copy, and I regret it, and I'm going to buy a new copy of this because I really want a new copy. Also, I would say that, like, this book is, like, kind of like The Exorcist. The lives of the Barretts, a normal suburban New England family, are torn apart when 14-year-old Marjorie begins to display signs of acute schizophrenia. To her parents' despair, the doctors are unable to stop Marjorie's bizarre outbursts and subsequent descent into madness. As their home devolves into a house of horrors, they reluctantly turn to a local Catholic priest for help. Father Wanderley suggests an exorcism. He believes the vulnerable teenager is the victim of demonic possession. He also contacts a production company that is eager to document the Barretts' plight for a reality television show. With John, Marjorie's father, out of work for more than a year, and medical bills looming, the family reluctantly agrees to be filmed, never imagining that the possession would become an instant hit. When events in the Barrett household explode in tragedy, the show and the incidents it captures become the stuff of urban legend. 15 years later, a best-selling writer interviews Marjorie's younger sister, Mary. As she recalls those long-ago events from her childhood, she was just 8 years old. Painful memories and long-buried secrets that clash with the television broadcast and the internet blogs begin to surface. So this one is just really good. Paul Tremblay is very good about looking at, like, what happens after a tragedy to people and, like what happens after the horror movie happens, basically. And this book is so good. Okay. So this one is, like, my main recommendation from him. I'm going to reread it, I think. It's just really good. And the next one is The Cabin at the End of the World. So what it's called? Yeah, The Cabin at the End of the World. This was made into a movie, and the movie was not as good. Not nearly as good. The book is incredible. The movie was, yeah. Oh, this was named Best Book of 2018 by Library Journal and NPR. Who knew? 7-year-old Wen and her parents, Eric and Andrew, are vacationing at a remote cabin in northern New Hampshire. Far removed from the bustle of city life, they are cut off from the urgent hum of cell phones and the internet. Their closest neighbors are more than 2 miles away in either direction. On a summer day, as Wen catches grasshoppers in the front yard, a stranger unexpectedly appears. Leonard is the largest man Wen has ever seen, but he is friendly, with a warm smile that wins her over almost instantly. Leonard and Wen continue to talk and play until 3 more strangers, 2 women and a man, all dressed like Leonard in jeans and button-down shirts, come down the road carrying strange, menacing objects. In a panic, Wen tells Leonard that she must go back inside the cabin, but before she goes, her new friend tells her, "None of what's going to happen is your fault. You haven't done anything wrong, but the 3 of you will have to make some tough decisions. I wish with all my broken heart you didn't have to." As Wen sprints away to warn her parents, Leonard calls out, "Your dads won't let us in, Wen, but they have to. We need your help to save the world." Paul Tremblay is really good at vividly making me scared. And this book really scared me at the beginning. Yeah, I mean, I would just highly recommend it. I have recommended it. People have liked it. I think it's a home invasion, kind of like sci-fi horror, and it's pretty spooky. So I would recommend this one if you're looking to be spooked, and this one if you're looking to just get your head all messed up. My last recommendation for Spooky Season is The Deep by Nick Cutter. This book was, like, it came highly recommended from, like, horror YouTubers. So I read it. I really liked it. I think that Nick Cutter is really good at viscerally explaining things in a way that makes you scared. Kind of like Paul Tremblay, but in, like, a different way. I just think he got, like, really lyrical writing that's still somehow really scary and, like, vivid. It says, a strange plague called the Gets is decimating humanity on a global scale. It causes people to forget small things at first, like where they left their keys, the not so small things, like how to drive or the letters of the alphabet. Their bodies forget how to function involuntarily. There is no cure. But far below the surface of the Pacific Ocean, a universal healer hailed as ambrosia has been discovered. In order to study this phenomenon, a special research lab has been built 8 miles under the sea's surface. When the station goes incommunicado, a brave few descend through the lightless fathoms in hopes of unraveling the mysteries lurking at those crushing depths, and perhaps to encounter an evil blacker than anyone could possibly imagine. There's, like, a dog in this I really liked. The main character was pretty cool to like, spend time with. So if you're looking for something that's, like, gonna scare you, if you like, it's kind of claustrophobic because they're obviously 8 miles under the sea in this place with no communication with the outside world. If you're looking for something like that, I recommend The Deep by Nick Cutter. Okay, now we're going to move on to books I want to read this spooky season. So my TBR, it's kind of long, so I don't know if I'll get to everything, but I'm really hoping to get to everything. The first one, The Troop, Nick Cutter. I started this a couple years ago, maybe last year. I only got to chapter 5. I really want to read it this year. He only has a few books, so this one is the one I want to get to. This one is the one that was, like, most recommended, I feel like. Spooky Season Romance, From Bad to Cursed by Lana Harper. This one, opposites attract in this wickedly charming rom-com by Lana Harper, New York Times bestselling author of Payback's a Witch. I think I read Payback's a Witch and I think I liked it, so I picked this one up and I haven't gotten to it yet, but this is, like, the perfect spooky season. I'm hoping quick read because of the romance. Next, this one I think will be a quick read because it's so short, and when I picked it up and I was, like, looking at it, it just seemed like it was going to be a quick read. This one's Hide by Kiersten White. The challenge, spend a week hiding in an abandoned amusement park and don't get caught. The prize, enough money to change everything. Even though everyone is desperate to win, to seize a dream future or escape a haunting past, Mac is sure that she can beat her competitors. All she has to do is hide, and she's an expert at that. It's the reason she's alive and her family isn't. But as the people around her begin disappearing one by one, Mac realizes that this competition is even more sinister than she'd imagined, and that together might be the only way to survive. 14 competitors, 7 days, everywhere to hide, but nowhere to run. Come out, wherever you are. And this just sounded really good. It's, somebody recommended me a different book by her, and then I picked this one up because the other one was only in hardcover, and I wanted something that was not as expensive as a hardcover, so this one's on my list for this spooky season. Bunny by Mona Awad is on my list. This has been on my list for a little while, since last year, I think. This was recommended by YouTuber Jack Edwards. I picked it up after he talked about it in one of his videos. I think it's kind of like dark academia, spooky thriller kind of thing. So I hope to read this spooky season. On that same note, I picked this up because it was, just look at it. Look at this cover. It's beautiful. And it sounded funny. It says, Amy Foster considers herself lucky. After she left the city and moved to the suburbs, she found her place quickly with neighbors Liz, Jess, and Melissa snarking together from the outskirts of the PTA crowd. One night, during their monthly wine get-together, the crew concoct a plan for the clubhouse, the she shed, in Liz's backyard. A space just for them. No kids or spouses allowed. But the night after they christen the she shed, things start to feel off. They didn't expect Liz's little home improvement project to release a demonic force that turns their quiet enclave into something out of a nightmare. And that's before the Homeowners Association gets wind of it. Even the calmest moms can't justify the strange burn marks, self-moving dolls, and horrible smells surrounding their possessed friend Liz. Together, Amy, Jess, and Melissa must fight the evil spirit to save Liz and the neighborhood before the suburbs can go completely to hell. And that just sounds like fun. So, I got this one. I think it'll be like a fun horror book. I hope. Based on the cover and the description. So I guess we'll see. What does it say? It does say massively entertaining and fun as hell, somebody said. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. I think that's exactly what this is going to give me. This one has been on my list for a long time. Again, all of these have. I feel like if I don't read these things during spooky season, they just kind of sit on my shelf. So this is The Last House on Needless Street, and I think I picked this up because somebody told me this was the scariest book of 2022. Is it 2022? It must be. And it just sounded good. It had like a talking cat or something in it. And I was like, yeah, I need it. 2021. So the scariest book of 2021. It says an boarded up house on a dead-end street at the edge of wild Washington woods lives a family of 3. A teenage girl who isn't allowed outside, not after last time. A man who drinks alone in front of his TV, trying to ignore the gaps in his memory. And a house cat who loves napping and reading the Bible. An unspeakable secret binds them together, but when a new neighbor moves in next door, what is buried among the birch trees may come back to haunt them all. The Last House on Needless Street is an immersive and shocking journey that will keep you guessing until the last page. So yes, this is on my list. The Last House on Needless Street by Catalina Ward. Next, thrillers. Lisa Jewell's The Invisible Girl and Lucy Foley's The Paris Apartment. This one I picked up because I read her... What is it? What did she write? Oh, yeah, The Guest List. And The Guest List I loved so much. So I'm really hoping I love this one just as much, but I haven't gotten around to read it. So this one's definitely on my list. And if I don't read this, I'm going to be really disappointed in myself. This one's kind of the same thing. Lisa Jewell just seems to be like a really, really strong author in this genre. And everything I've read by her, I've liked. So this one's on my list for this season. Okay, one more. Two more, I lied. Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. This is a debut novel, I think, and I got it from Book of the Month in February. Haven't read it yet, but I love books that take place, horror books specifically, that take place like in the middle of nowhere. I think this one will be good. I want to do a reading my Book of the Month backlog video at some point. I'll get to that. I'll get to that eventually. This might be in it. It might be next month. And then lastly, we have The Taking of Jake Livingston. I bought this at Target. It's so sticky. Oh, it has a sticker on the front. Okay. It's by Brian Douglas. I bought this at Target because it just looked really good like 2 years ago. I have a friend that read it. She really liked it. It's YA. It should be a super quick read. It's so short. It's only like 300 pages, not even. Yeah, like 250 pages. A lot of the pages look like they're like texts and stuff. So I'm going to read this year. I promise. Myself? I guess I promise you. I don't know if you really care what I read this year, but those are my books for spooky season. Yeah. So thank you. Let me know if there's anything like I'm missing that I really need to read. I don't have like anything from this year on here. So if there's any like really scary book that came out this year or is coming out this year, let me know that I need to pick it up, and I will. So thank you. Give me any excuse to buy books that you can. And I will see you next time.